I'm Robin Sims, and I'm the president of the Rotary Club of Cheyenne. Today I'm going to be reading a book to you called Andy and Elmer's Apple Dumpling Adventure. Before we do that, there are some words that I want to make sure that you understand, and so let's just cover them real quick. A dumpling is some dough, like bread dough, around, in this case, an apple with cinnamon and sugar baked in. It's kind of like a mini apple pie or an empanada that's baked instead of fried. Plunked is the next word, and it is the sound and the action of something dropping down and hitting so hard that it makes a sound. So it's kind of like bonking or knocking. Plunking is both the action and the sound together. Profits is when we're making money, and in this case, we're making more money than we spend. And so if you think about a lemonade stand, if you've ever sold lemonade by the sidewalk, you buy your lemonade mix, you might buy some paper cups, and you mix it up, and then you try and sell your lemonade for more money than it cost you to buy your supplies. A fleet of trucks is a group of trucks. And so it's a group of trucks that one person or one group controls. So if I have a fleet of trucks, it means that all of the trucks in my group are going to do what they tell them to do. An aroma is another word for odor or smell. Most of the time we think of an aroma as a good smell, like the time when we think of baking apples or baking cookies, or the smell of pine needles and fresh cut grass. Sometimes odors and aromas can be bad, and we sometimes refer to those as stink. But in this time, we're going to talk about aroma as a good smell. A venture is a little different than a word that you're more familiar with, which is an adventure. An adventure is when you're going to do something new and exciting. It's something you're really excited to do. In this case, it might be newer and exciting, and you might be excited, but this is something you're going to try to do to make a profit. Coring apples. You all know what an apple core is if you've eaten an apple. It's the middle part of the apple where there's the stem and the seeds. And when you're coring an apple, you're just taking out that middle part. The next group of words are also important. Truth. Truth is it the facts? Is it all of the facts that are necessary to tell what really happened? That's the truth. Fair means, is it good for everyone, not just for one person, not just good for me, but good for you too? Then it's fair. And goodwill is a word that we don't use very often, but maybe we should. It's a feeling inside, a feeling that we want to be helpful and we're ready to work together. Better friendships, I don't have to explain to you, I'm sure. But let's talk about the word beneficial. That's another word we don't use very often. It means, is there a benefit? Does it give good results? So those are the words you're going to hear in this book. This is Andy and Elmer's Apple Dumpling Adventure, and I'm glad you're going to read it with me. It was a beautiful morning as Andy sat beneath his neighbor's apple tree. What should I do today, he thought. Suddenly an apple fell from the tree and plunked him on the head. Ouch, he shouted. Then he picked up the apple and he inspected it. I know. I'll make apple dumplings. Andy proceeded to pick several apples, as many as he could carry. Then it was off to the kitchen. He spent the rest of the morning and the early afternoon in the kitchen, peeling and coring, rolling and wrapping. It was certainly a big job, but Andy absolutely loved to make apple dumplings. It was evening when Andy sat down to have an apple dumpling for dinner. There are many ways to eat apple dumplings, but Andy preferred just pouring milk over the top. These sure are good, if I say so myself, he stated, but they sure are filling. He looked over to the counter at his full day's work. There is No way I'm going to be able to eat all of these, he thought. I have an idea. Maybe I could sell them. Andy was all excited. He hopped up and ran over to his drawing table and started sketching a label. I'll call them Andy's Apple Dumplings. And he was very proud of his great idea. Is it the truth? A voice suddenly came out of nowhere. Andy was startled. Who's there? He looked around frantically, but there was no one around. Andy sketched a bit more. Is it the truth? Came the voice again. Again, Andy looked around, but there was no one to be seen. Then he stopped and he looked at the label. Well, he thought, I suppose it's not entirely the truth. I mean, I made them, but they're not my apples. You see, they came from his neighbor, Elmer. It was Elmer's apple tree. Is it fair to all concerned? Came the voice again. And he wasn't quite so startled this time. It's not fair to Elmer, he thought. Then Andy had an inspiration. There was someone at Elmer's door. Elmer opened the door to find Andy standing there, his arms full of apple dumplings. Andy and Elmer sat down at the table to enjoy a late night snack. I'm sorry, Elmer, Andy began. I should have asked for your permission before taking your apples. Oh, don't worry about it, Elmer replied. These are awfully delicious. Thank you for sharing them with me. Say, Elmer, I have an idea. Elmer was listening, slurping at the bottom of his bowl. Would you like to be my partner? You know, your apples, my baking, and we split the profits? Sounds terrific, said Elmer, but only if you let me help and teach me how to bake, too. Deal, said Andy, and they shook on it. They spent another hour or so just talking and getting to know one another better. And later, as Andy was walking home, you guessed it, is it building goodwill and better friendships? The voice was back. Why, yes, it is, Andy said to himself. It is indeed. The next day, Andy and Elmer got an early start on their new adventure. Elmer manned the ladder, picking apples while Andy gathered strays. Then they were off to the kitchen, where Andy showed Elmer, step by step, how to make apple dumplings. From the peeling and the coring, to the dough making and the sugar mixing, to the rolling and the wrapping, and finally the baking. Elmer had no idea it was such hard work to make apple dumplings, but the aroma of the apples and the cinnamon was reward enough for him. It was about midnight when they put the label on the last package. Well, that should do it, said Andy. But how are we going to get all of these to the market in the morning? Asked Elmer. You've got a point there, Andy was puzzled. Then the sound. Bang, clang, chugga chugga, bang. Hey, I know that sound, he said, and Andy and Elmer ran outside. Sure enough, it was Becky in her beat-up old pickup truck. What is that heavenly smell? Becky asked as she pulled up. Oh, it's our apple dumplings, Andy replied. Elmer and I are going into business together. Well, if they taste as good as they smell, you two are going to be rich. Say, Becky, began Elmer, could you help us haul all of these apple dumplings to the market in the morning? That's a great idea, Andy chimed in. Sure, if you don't mind giving me a few. And suddenly the voice returned. Is it beneficial to all concerned? Andy noticed that neither Elmer nor Becky seemed to hear the voice. We can do better than that. How about if we cut you in on our profits? Yes, yes, Elmer agreed. Deal, said Becky, and they all shook. The next day was incredible. Not only did Andy and Elmer sell all of the apple dumplings, but they had orders for many, many more. In fact, in the days to come, their venture became so prosperous that Elmer now runs an entire orchard. Becky oversees a fleet of trucks, and Andy has 32 bakers working with him. And to this day, Andy's not quite sure where that mysterious voice came from, although he now feels that it was simply the voice from inside of him, guiding him along his way. And if you ever visit Andy's kitchen, you'll find posted on the refrigerator those 4 little questions to help guide everyone along their way. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Those 4 questions are what Rotary calls the 4-way test. We use them every day to decide what is right and wrong, to make better decisions about the things we do or we don't do. And we hope you'll use them too. Thanks for reading with me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.